Chapter 1 First Encounter. Mandala in the Cafe. Kate Holloway will always remember that Thursday afternoon at 3:17. Raindrops were hitting the ground at an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second, and she rushed into the Old Oak Cafe, holding the newly printed resort design drawings. The waterproof drawing bag scraped against the door frame with a harsh sound, startling the sparrows perched on the antler chandelier. When Martha, who was wiping cups behind the bar, looked up, she just saw Kate's chestnut curly hair exploded in the reflection of the glass cabinet, like a burning flame. "Wet and cold weather, dear." Martha pushed the steaming honey ginger tea over, and the copper bell-like earrings swayed with the movement. "Your Ryan didn't come today?" Kate's fingers unconsciously rubbed the gap on the edge of the mug. This gap was left when Ryan and her had their first quarrel here 3 months ago. At that time he said he would take her back to his hometown in Montana to meet his parents, but suddenly changed his mind the night before departure. He went to help his father on the ranch. Kate lied, looking out the window at the red pickup truck. It was Ryan's car, parked at the door of the repair shop across the street, and there was a faint sound of metal colliding under the hood. When Ryan McCall walked into the cafe, he brought with him the smell of pine and motor oil after the rain. There were grass clippings on the knees of his overalls, and the spurs on his cowboy boots tapped a crisp rhythm on the tile floor. Kate noticed that his right wrist was wrapped in gauze, which was scratched by the wire when he helped his father repair the fence last week. "Sorry I'm late." Ryan sat down opposite her, his fingertips brushed over the design she placed on the table. "This spiral structure? Like the crown of a mandala." Kate interrupted. "I saw in National Geographic that the growth of this flower follows the Fibonacci sequence." Ryan's pupils shrank slightly. The gauze on his wrist suddenly slipped off, revealing the tattoo of half a mandala. This was the couple tattoo he and Lisa got in high school. Kate remembered that he once said that the mandala represented fatal attraction. "Your parents recently," Kate tentatively said. Ryan's jawline suddenly tightened. He took out a velvet box from his coat pocket and placed it between them. The moment the box was opened, Kate's breath stopped. Inside lay a silver ring with the wheat ear emblem of the McCall family engraved on the ring. "My father said that if we want to get married," Ryan's voice was hoarse, "we must sign a prenuptial agreement." Kate's nails dug deep into her palm. The rain outside the window stopped at some point, and a ray of sunlight passed through the stained glass of the cafe, reflecting a colorful halo on the silver ring. She suddenly remembered the first time Ryan took her to see the mandala flower. He said that the whole plant of this flower was poisonous, and only Indian witch doctors knew how to extract painkillers. "Okay," Kate said softly, "I'll sign it." Ryan's Adam's apple rolled. He reached out to touch her but stopped halfway. Kate saw a faint sunburn mark at the base of his ring finger, which was the mark of the wedding ring he wore when he attended Lisa's birthday party last week. That night, Kate found Ryan's mobile phone in the garage. On the screen was a message from Lisa. "Honey, are you really going to marry that architect? Your father knows that her mother is." Kate didn't finish reading. She opened Ryan's toolbox with trembling hands and touched a blood-stained wrench at the bottom. The moonlight shone in from the skylight, and the blood on the surface of the wrench glowed strangely, like the juice of a mandrake flower. Chapter 2 Cracks, Silver Ring and Whiskey Stains. Kate's nails dug deep into her palm, and blood beads seeped into the wheat ear emblem of the silver ring along the lines. She stared at the wrenches in Ryan's toolbox, the smell of rust mixed with the smell of motor oil fermenting in her nose, just like the smell of her mother vomiting on the carpet after being drunk that year. "What do you want to drink?" Ryan's voice came from the kitchen with deliberate briskness. "Same old." Kate didn't answer. She put the wrench back in place, and when she closed the toolbox, half of a yellowed photo was exposed at the bottom of the box. Ryan and Lisa were wearing high school uniforms, standing in front of the barn of McCall Ranch. Lisa's hand was on Ryan's shoulder, and her fingertips were painted with the same coral nail polish as her today. "Here you go." Ryan handed over a glass of whiskey, and the ice cubes collided with a crisp sound in the amber liquid. Kate noticed that he changed into a clean plaid shirt, and the collar still smelled of aftershave after shaving. "Let's talk about the prenuptial agreement." Kate clenched the glass, and the water droplets on the wall of the glass slid down her fingers, making dark round spots on the floor. Ryan's Adam's apple rolled. He took out a stack of documents from the drawer. The top page was printed with McCall family property inheritance clauses. Kate's eyes swept over the densely packed clauses and finally stopped at the handwritten note on the third page. If Ryan McCall marries someone who is not a rancher's child, he will lose his inheritance rights. My father said. He said that if I sign this agreement, it will prove my sincerity. Kate continued, her fingertips running across the cold pen tip. Proof that I'm not with you for money. Ryan suddenly grabbed her wrist. His palm was covered with calluses, rubbing her skin like sandpaper. Believe me when the ranch is through this crisis. So that's why you need my design fee? Kate pulled her hand back suddenly, and the whiskey splashed on the agreement, creating a dark cloud. When you asked me to take on that resort project last month, was that already calculated? Ryan's face suddenly turned pale. He opened his mouth, but was interrupted by the sudden sound of an engine outside the window. A silver Cadillac stopped at the door and Lisa Cartwright stepped out of the car in high heels, her wavy hair glowing honey-colored in the twilight. Ryan. She waved her handkerchief and shouted, "Your father asked me to get that." Kate's nails dug deep into her palm. The butterfly birthmark on Lisa's neck glowed strangely under the streetlight, exactly the same as the photo in Ryan's mobile phone. You guys chat, I'm leaving first. Kate grabbed her coat and walked to the entrance, but was stopped by Lisa at the porch. Miss Kate. Lisa looked her up and down and raised a polite arc at the corner of her mouth. I heard you are an architect? What a coincidence, I'm helping Ryan design a new stable. Kate stared at Lisa's fingers painted with coral nail polish, and suddenly remembered the yellowed photo. We grew up together. Lisa leaned closer to her, the scent of Chanel No. 5 perfume mixed with the aftertaste of whiskey on her body wafting in her face. Didn't Ryan tell you? The marriage agreement between the McCalls and the Cartwrights was made when we were wearing crotchless pants. Kate stumbled back and knocked over the coat rack in the entrance. Ryan rushed over to help her, but she threw him away fiercely. So you've been using family as an excuse. She screamed, tears mixed with mascara streaking black streams on her face. You don't want to marry me at all. That's not true. Ryan grabbed her shoulders and shook her. I really love you. If you love me, you won't let me sign this. Kate grabbed the agreement and tore it in half, and the pieces of paper fell like snowflakes at their feet. If you love me, you won't let Lisa touch your car. She pointed at the red pickup truck outside the window, and a coral-colored scarf was hung on the sun visor of the passenger seat, exactly the same as the one Lisa was wearing around her neck today. Late that night, Kate sat alone on the observation deck on the edge of the cliff. The mountain breeze swept past her ears with pine waves, and she suddenly remembered the first time she came here with Ryan. At that time he said he wanted to build a glass church here, so that the wedding bells would be carried far away with the mountain breeze. The seeds of Datura need darkness to germinate. Ryan once said, just like our love, it needs to experience pain to bloom. Kate took out her phone and turned to Lisa's social media page. The latest update was a photo. Ryan and Lisa stood in front of the barn of McCall Ranch, and Lisa's hand was stuffing something into Ryan's shirt pocket. Kate enlarged the photo and saw that it was a bank check with Ryan McCall written in the payee column, and the amount was $500,000. She trembled and opened the album on her phone and found the video she took last Christmas. In the picture, Ryan drunkenly put the ring on her hand, and his father roared in the background, "Don't even think about entering the McCall family unless that woman signs the agreement." Kate suddenly laughed. She deleted the video, opened the text message interface and sent Lisa a message. See you at the Old Oak Cafe at 3 p.m. tomorrow. The next day Kate arrived at the cafe half an hour early. Martha was wiping the table by the window, and when she saw her come in, she was hesitant to say anything. Miss Lisa just left. Martha lowered her voice. She left a bottle of whiskey saying it was for Ryan. Kate stared at the crystal bottle on the table. The wax seal on the neck of the bottle was intact, but she found half a coral lip print on the edge of the label. She suddenly remembered the wine stain on Ryan's shirt last night. It was not motor oil splashed when repairing the car, as he said. When Lisa walked into the cafe on high heels, Kate was stirring iced American coffee with a straw. I know about you and Ryan. She got straight to the point. I've seen your bank statements. Lisa's smile froze on her face. How much do you want? I don't want money. Kate pushed her phone over, and the screen showed a photo of the wrench in Ryan's toolbox. I want you to tell Ryan that I will wait for him at the observation deck on the cliff at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Lisa's pupils suddenly contracted. Are you crazy? Maybe. Kate stood up, grabbed the bottle and walked to the door. But when the Datura blooms, someone has to act as fertilizer. That evening, Kate buried the whiskey bottle in the Datura bushes on the edge of the cliff. The setting sun stretched her shadow very long, as if it was going to merge with the abyss under her feet. She took out the silver ring Ryan gave her, and the wheat ear emblem on the ring face glowed coldly in the twilight. When the flower blooms, you will belong to me forever. Kate whispered, stroking the hairy stems of the Datura with her fingertips. Just like this poison, it will always penetrate into your blood. Chapter 3 Rose Thorn. Lisa's butterfly birthmark. When Kate pushed the iced Americano in front of Lisa, the glass straw made a slight cracking sound. Outside the French window of the cafe, the rainstorm was washing the streets into a gray river. Martha was wiping the ancestral silver candlestick behind the bar, and the copper bell-like earrings flickered in the swaying candlelight. What do you want to know? Lisa crossed her legs and her coral nail polish shone with pearly luster under the table lamp. The butterfly birthmark on her neck trembled slightly as she swallowed, like a creature that would flap its wings and fly away at any time. When did you start? Kate's nails pinched into her palm, and the pain reminded her of the whiskey bottle buried in the mandala bushes last night. The abbreviation of Lisa's name was engraved on the bottom of the bottle, shining strangely in the moonlight. Lisa suddenly laughed, and her laughter was like an ice cone piercing into her bones. Since the first day you showed up at the cafe. She reached out to lift her blonde hair, and the birthmark suddenly enlarged in front of Kate's eyes. Ryan always said that he and I were two halves of the same flower and you? Just fertilizer for his father's ranch. Kate said, her fingertips running over the crack on the edge of the coffee cup. This crack was made by Ryan with a key last week, when he said he would take her to see the Datura flower field, but he received a call from Lisa halfway. Lisa's pupils suddenly contracted. She took out a photo from her crocodile leather handbag and pushed it in front of Kate. Ryan and her kissed in the rose garden of Cartwright Ranch, and Lisa's fingertips were hooked on the belt buckle of Ryan's jeans. It was his birthday last month and we relived our high school bonfire party. Lisa's voice was as sweet as honey, you know? When he was drunk he always liked to talk about your butterfly birthmark. Like Lisa's. Kate finished for her, digging her nails into Ryan's eyes in the photo. Was he pressing you into the rose bush when he said that? Lisa suddenly grabbed Kate's hand and pressed it on the birthmark on her neck. Kate's fingertips touched the warm skin and the beating pulse. Does it feel similar? Lisa whispered, we even have the same birthmark in the same place. Isn't this fate? Kate pulled her hand back suddenly and the coffee cup fell on the photo, and Ryan's smiling face was distorted in the brown liquid. When she stood up, her knee knocked over the chair and Martha's worried eyes were cast from the bar. Tell Ryan I'll be waiting for him at the cliffside observation deck tomorrow at 3 p.m. Kate grabbed the wet photo and turned around to smell Lisa's rosewater, mixed with Ryan's favorite sandalwood cologne. The rainstorm peaked at dusk. Kate hid under the tin shed of the repair shop, and the rain dripped down the eaves and formed a muddy stream at her feet. She stared at Ryan's red pickup and saw Lisa's coral scarf hanging from the sun visor of the passenger seat, like a venomous snake waiting for prey. Kate. Ryan's voice came from behind with surprise and a hint of panic. His overalls were stained with mud, and the gauze on his right wrist had been replaced with a band-aid. Kate turned around and smelled the strong smell of whiskey on him. Have you been drinking? Lisa brought it. Ryan avoided her gaze. She said your father wanted to cancel our engagement? Kate interrupted him, throwing the soaked photo in front of his chest. Or is it that the Cartwrights are willing to invest in the McCall Ranch as long as you marry her? Ryan's face suddenly turned pale. He reached out to touch her but she shook him off fiercely. Listen, Lisa and I are just taking what we need. Kate took 2 steps back and crushed the Datura flowers at her feet. The juice seeped into the mesh of her sneakers, carrying the sweet smell of rotten apples. Just like you used my design fees to make up for the deficit of the ranch? Ryan's Adam's apple rolled. He took out a check from his back pocket. The amount was 3 times Kate's total income last year. As long as you sign a prenuptial agreement. And then watch you and Lisa get married in the resort I designed? Kate suddenly laughed, and the laughter mixed with the sound of rain echoed in the tin shed. You know? I named the resort Datura Manor, because the roots of this flower can be extracted. What can be extracted? Ryan's voice suddenly became hoarse. Kate leaned close to him, her breath brushing the broken hair by his ear. It can extract chemicals that make the brake pipes ineffective. She whispered, just like what your father did to Lisa's father's car. Ryan's pupils suddenly dilated. He grabbed her wrist with such force that he almost broke the bones. How do you know? I checked the car accident of the Cartwright family. Kate stared at the sunburn mark at the base of his ring finger. The brake pipes were tampered with, and your father happened to buy their ranch that day. Ryan suddenly let go. He stumbled back, knocking over the tool rack. Wrenches, jacks, and screwdrivers rained down on the ground, and one bloody wrench rolled to Kate's feet. Is this the weapon you used to kill Lisa's father? Kate bent down to pick up the wrench, the taste of rust mixed with rain spreading on the tip of her tongue. Or did you just inherit your father's legacy? Ryan didn't answer. He turned and rushed into the heavy rain, his leather boots splashing dirty waves through puddles. Kate stood there, listening to the sound of his engine gradually disappearing into the twilight. She took out her phone and turned on the dashcam app. She secretly installed it last week while Ryan was asleep. In the video, Ryan and Lisa were arguing in the barn of Cartwright Ranch. You promised to get rid of that architect, Lisa screamed, once her mother's affairs are exposed. I'll make her sign the agreement. Ryan's voice was filled with suppressed anger, and then send her to see her mother. Kate turned off the video and the rain slid down her eyelashes, mixed with tears, and drew salty tracks on her face. She opened the toolbox and took out the brake fluid thinner, and the liquid reflected a rainbow-like halo in her palm. The roots of the mandragora need darkness to grow, she whispered, her fingertips stroking the brake oil pipe of the pickup truck. Just like our love, it needs death to be complete. Late that night, Kate stood on the observation deck on the edge of the cliff. The mountain fog rolled under her feet and wolves howled in the distance. She took out the silver ring Ryan gave her, and the wheat ear emblem on the ring face glowed coldly in the moonlight. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. She whispered to the abyss, when the mandragora blooms, we will be together forever. The mountain breeze wrapped in rain brushed across her hair, and she suddenly remembered the first time she came here with Ryan. At that time he said that he would build a glass church here, so that the wedding bells would spread far away with the mountain breeze. Kate smiled. She threw the silver ring into the abyss, and when she turned around she crushed a blooming mandragora. The juice seeped into the soles of her shoes, spreading in her blood vessels like the venom of a lover. Chapter 4: Spider Web. The secret of the brake oil pipe. Kate's fingertips wandered on the edge of the toolbox, and the night dew condensed on the metal surface seeped into her cuffs through her fingers. The cedar outside the garage cast a ghostly shadow in the moonlight, and she suddenly remembered that Ryan had taught her to change tires here last winter, and the white mist he exhaled turned into ice crystals in the cold. The brake hose is here. He held her hand at the time, and the calluses on his fingertips rubbed the back of her hand. If you encounter an emergency, remember to pull the handbrake first. Kate's nails dug deep into her palm. At this moment she squatted under the chassis of Ryan's red pickup truck, and the cold light of the mobile phone screen reflected the outline of the brake hose. The glass bottle of thinner swayed slightly in the tool bag, and the surface of the liquid glowed with a strange fluorescence, just like mandragora juice. 3 drops can corrode metal. When Lisa said this in the cafe, the coral nail polish was crossing her design, just like Ryan's heart, corroded by family interests. The moment Kate unscrewed the bottle cap, the mountain wind swept through the gap of the garage door with pine waves. The smell of thinner mixed with the smell of rust spread in the humid air, and she suddenly heard Ryan's suppressed moans and Lisa's delicate breathing from the second floor. Tomorrow afternoon at 3. Lisa's voice was like silk brushing against a knife blade. After she falls off the cliff, your father will arrange. Kate stood up suddenly and the back of her head hit the chassis heavily. The dull sound of metal startled the owl perched on the beam. When Ryan's footsteps sounded on the stairs, she had already hidden in the corner full of hay. Who's there? Ryan's voice was drunken. Kate saw his cowboy boots shining in the moonlight, and there was a new scratch on the right heel. It was left when he quarreled with Lisa on the cliff yesterday. She held her breath and listened to the sound of him opening the toolbox. Amid the crisp sound of the wrench hitting the metal, she touched the silver ring hidden in the haystack. This was the third time she picked it up from the abyss tonight. The wheat ear emblem on the ring face glowed coldly in the moonlight, just like Ryan's father's eyes. Damn it! Ryan cursed and closed the toolbox. We have to go to the ranch tomorrow. His footsteps gradually disappeared in the direction of the kitchen. Kate counted to 300 and got into the pickup chassis again. The thinner liquid formed tiny bubbles at the oil pipe joint. She suddenly remembered the butterfly birthmark on Lisa's neck, which had trembled slightly in the sunshine one morning. Corrosion takes 4 hours. Lisa's voice echoed in her memory, enough to make the brakes fail on the cliff curve. Kate took out her phone and turned on the dashcam app. In the video, Ryan was stuffing Lisa's coral scarf into the toolbox interlayer, and Lisa's chuckle came from the background. Don't forget that the Cartwright family's lawyer will come at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Kate turned off the video and put the thinner bottle next to the scarf. When she closed the toolbox, she noticed that the wrench at the bottom had changed position, a sign that Ryan had checked it. The rainstorm hit the town at 2 o'clock in the morning. Kate stood at the garage door watching the rain wash over the pickup's windshield. She took out the pocket watch Ryan had given her, and the hands were pointing to 3:17. This time had become a curse for their arguments in the past 3 months. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. Kate whispered to herself in the rearview mirror, when the mandala blooms. Her reflection was suddenly illuminated by the headlights. A silver Cadillac stopped in the rain. Lisa rolled down the window and her coral nail polish glowed in the lightning. Do you need help? Lisa shouted. Ryan said you were going to the city. Kate clenched the pocket watch chain. She saw Lisa's fingers unconsciously stroking the steering wheel, where there was a fresh bite mark, exactly the same as Ryan's teeth mark on the back of his neck. No. Kate smiled, her fingertips stroking the pickup's brake oil pipe. I can do it myself. After Lisa's car disappeared in the rain, Kate opened the toolbox again. The vial of thinner next to the scarf was intact, but she found that the blood on the surface of the wrench had been wiped, revealing a fresh metallic luster underneath. Ryan, how much do you know? Kate asked softly, the moonlight slanting in from the skylight, casting a half shadow on her face. She took out the wrench and looked at it repeatedly in the moonlight. The location of the bloodstain perfectly matched the birthmark on Lisa's neck, which reminded her of the car accident at the Cartwright family. The brake oil pipe was loosened with this wrench. For hours. Kate muttered to herself and put the wrench back to its original place, enough for the truth to surface. Before leaving the garage, she left a half coral lip print on the steering wheel. This was printed with Lisa's lipstick left in the cafe, and the color perfectly matched the wine stain on Ryan's shirt. When she returned to the bedroom, Kate found Ryan sitting in a rocking chair, holding the bottle of whiskey she buried in the mandragora bushes. The amber liquid rippled in the moonlight, and the wax seal on the neck of the bottle had been opened. Lisa said you went to see her. Ryan's voice was hoarse. About the prenuptial agreement. I'll sign it. Kate interrupted him, her fingertips stroking the teeth marks on the back of his neck. But there is a condition. Ryan's pupils suddenly contracted. He grabbed her wrist with such force that he almost crushed her bones. What condition? Tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we will go to the observation deck on the cliff. Kate whispered, I will sign the agreement there. Ryan's Adam's apple rolled. He loosened his hand and the whiskey dripped through his fingers, leaving dark round spots on the floor. Okay. When Kate turned around, she smelled the scent of whiskey and mandrake mixed on him. She took out the Swiss Army knife hidden under the pillow, and the blade glowed coldly in the moonlight. This was the weapon she was going to use against Lisa. Go to sleep. Ryan turned off the bedside lamp, and his steady breathing could be heard in the darkness. Kate could hear her own heartbeat, which was deafening, mixed with the sound of heavy rain hitting the roof, which sounded like the sound of mandala flowers blooming in the dark. At 4 o'clock in the morning, Kate sneaked into the garage again. The thinner had corroded a tiny crack at the oil pipe joint. She took out her Swiss Army knife and carved the initials of Lisa's name on the edge of the crack. When the brakes fail, she whispered to the darkness, who will you think of? The mountain wind rolled in the rain from the crack in the door and blew off the silver ring on the toolbox. Kate picked up the ring, and the wheat ear emblem on the ring suddenly showed the initials of Lisa's name in the moonlight. This was etched by her with thinner. Tomorrow afternoon at 3. Kate put the ring on her ring finger. We will be together forever. When she walked out of the garage, the rain stopped. The eastern sky was turning pale, and the Datura flowers on the cliff were swaying gently in the morning mist. The dew condensed on the petals looked like lovers' tears. Chapter 5 Bloody Dawn. The Last Camping Invitation. Kate stood on the observation deck at the edge of the cliff, the morning mist rolling around her feet, just like Ryan's lies when he betrayed her. She took out her silver ring. The wheat ear emblem on the ring face glowed coldly in the morning light, and the initials of Lisa's name were faintly visible on the metal surface. Are you really going to do this? Lisa's voice came from behind her, and the coral scarf fluttered in the wind. Ryan won't let you go. When Kate turned around, she smelled the strong rose perfume on her body. Like his father won't let your father go? She asked back, her fingertips stroking the iron railing of the observation deck, where Ryan carved the initials Canner last week, which were now corroded by the mandrake juice. Lisa's pupils suddenly contracted. She took out a check from her crocodile leather handbag. The amount was 5 times Kate's design fee. As long as you leave Ryan. Then watch you get married in the resort I designed? Kate suddenly laughed, and her laughter mixed with the sound of pine trees echoed in the canyon. You know? I installed one-way glass in the resort's church. From the outside it looks wholly white, and from the inside, it's the purple of the mandala. Lisa said, her fingertips running over the corrosion marks on the railing. Ryan said you added the juice of this flower to the concrete. Kate's nails dug deep into her palm. She suddenly remembered the 20 tons of concrete that McCall Ranch transported away overnight after Lisa's father had a car accident. Those materials were mixed with mandala juice, which could corrode steel bars in the rainy season. What do you want? Kate clenched the check, and the paper made a crisp sound in the wind. Lisa leaned close to her, and the butterfly birthmark on her neck almost touched her nose. I want you to sign a prenuptial agreement and disappear forever. She whispered, just like your mother. Kate's world suddenly tilted. She stumbled back, knocking over the telescope on the observation deck. In the camera, Ryan's red pickup was driving along the winding mountain road, and the brake lights flickered in the morning mist. Your mother's alcoholism is true, Lisa continued, but the car accident was arranged by Ryan's father. Kate's vision blurred. She remembered the day of her mother's funeral, when Ryan held her in the rain and said, "Our love will heal all pain." And his father stood in the distance, half of his gloves stained with concrete sticking out of his suit pocket. Why tell me this? Kate asked tremblingly. Lisa suddenly laughed, and her laughter pierced into the bone marrow like an ice cone. Because Ryan wants you to die on the edge of the cliff, and I want you to know the truth before you die. She turned and walked towards the Cadillac. At 3 o'clock he will drive you to Manor of Mandala. Kate didn't listen to the end. She took out her mobile phone and opened the dashcam app. In the video, Ryan was loading gasoline barrels into the trunk of a pickup truck in the barn of Cartwright Ranch, while Lisa stood by and smoked, her coral nail polish glowing eerily in the firelight. 3 barrels of gasoline are enough to burn all the evidence. Lisa's voice came from the video, including the architect. Kate turned off the video and a heavy rain suddenly poured down. She hid in the wooden shelter of the observation deck, and the rain dripped down the eaves and formed a blood-colored stream at her feet, the color of mandrake juice mixed with rust. When Ryan's pickup truck stopped at the observation deck, Kate was carving the last mark on the railing with a Swiss Army knife. When he got out of the car, the scratch on the heel of his right boot splashed sparks on the concrete floor, which looked very much like the scene when Lisa's father was in a car accident. Are you ready? Ryan's voice was deliberately brisk. Let's go to Datura Manor. To sign a prenuptial agreement and then be burned to death by you? Kate interrupted him, holding up her phone to let him watch the video. Or do you plan to create a brake failure accident like your father did? Ryan's face suddenly turned pale. He grabbed her wrist with such force that it almost broke the bone. How did you? Lisa told me. Kate stared at the sunburn on his ring finger, and the wrench your father buried in the concrete. Ryan suddenly let go. He stumbled back and knocked over the Datura pot on the observation deck. The juice seeped into his cowboy boots, corroding tiny bubbles. You want to kill me? His voice was full of disbelief. Kate took out the silver ring, and the wheat ear emblem on the ring face shone coldly in the rain. No, I want you to watch me die and then fall into the abyss with Lisa. She whispered, Just like your father did to Mr. Cartwright. Ryan's pupils suddenly dilated. He turned and rushed to the pickup truck, but screamed when he touched the door. The door handle was covered with mandrake juice. The brake hose will be completely broken at 3 o'clock. Kate said, and the gasoline can in your trunk. Her words were interrupted by the roar of the engine. Ryan started the pickup truck, the tires idling on the slippery ground, but it suddenly stalled when it was about to rush down the cliff. Why? He roared and got out of the car, rain dripping into his eyes along the ends of his hair. Kate raised the Swiss Army knife with Lisa's initials engraved on the blade. Because I put mandrake juice in the tank. She smiled. The juice of this flower can corrode the fuel pump. Ryan suddenly laughed, and his laughter mixed with the sound of rain echoed in the canyon. Do you think you can win like this? He pulled out a gun from his waist. My father said that the best way to deal with a crazy woman. Kate did not hesitate. She turned and jumped over the railing. The moment she fell, she heard Ryan's gunshot mixed with the roar of the pickup engine. The mountain wind wrapped in rain brushed across her eyelashes. She saw Ryan's car struggling on the edge of the observation deck, and the gasoline barrel in the trunk was leaking. 3 o'clock. Kate said softly, letting the mandragora juice spread in her blood vessels. We are finally together forever. Chapter 6 Mandragora Dance. Judgment on the Cliff. Kate's hair fluttered in the wind, and the acceleration of the fall pressed her eardrums painfully. She saw Ryan's pickup truck tilted at a weird angle. The front wheel was already hanging in the air, and the gasoline leaking from the trunk drew a silver snake-like trajectory on the cliff. Kate. Ryan's roar mixed with the roar of the engine. The brake hose is you. It's Lisa. Kate's voice was torn apart by the mountain wind. She put a wrench in your toolbox. The pickup truck suddenly made a metallic whine, and the moment the rear wheel left the ground, Kate saw her reflection in Ryan's pupils. Chestnut curly hair exploded in the rainstorm, just like the afternoon when she rushed into the cafe 3 years ago. The time of falling was infinitely prolonged. Kate's fingertips touched the mandragora flowers on the cliff, and the juice seeped into the cuffs through her fingers as cool as a lover's tears. She suddenly remembered the first time she came here to camp with Ryan. He said he wanted to plant this kind of flowers on the cliff, so that every fallen soul can smell the smell of heaven. The smell of heaven? Kate laughed softly. It should be the smell of hell. Ryan's car brushed past the corner of her clothes, and the friction between metal and rock produced blue and purple sparks. Kate saw him trying to pull the handbrake, but she didn't know that Lisa had already cut the handbrake line. This was what she did this morning while he was sleeping. Why? Ryan's voice was trembling. We can live a lie like your father? Kate interrupted him. Or drink to death like your mother? The pickup truck suddenly bumped violently, and the gasoline in the tank was ignited by sparks. At the moment when the flames shot up to the sky, Kate saw Ryan's right wrist. The half-mandala tattoo was twisting in the flames, as if trying to break free from the restraints of the skin. Remember what Lisa said? Kate's voice suddenly became gentle. We are two halves of the same flower. Ryan's pupils suddenly contracted. He finally understood why Lisa's birthmark was so similar to Kate's, and why his father always wiped the bloody wrench late at night. So you are the illegitimate daughter of the Cartwright family. Kate finished for him, her fingertips stroking the butterfly birthmark below the collarbone. Lisa's half-sister. The mountain breeze wrapped in flames swept over Kate's eyelashes. She closed her eyes and heard her heartbeat overlap with the roar of the gasoline explosion. In the last moment before her consciousness faded, she saw Ryan's car fall into the abyss, and the gasoline barrels in the trunk bloomed like fireworks, illuminating the dense datura flowers on the cliff. This is what you taught me, Kate said softly, letting the venom of the datura spread in her blood vessels. Use the most beautiful way to end the ugliest life. The rainstorm stopped at some point. Kate floated in the void and saw her body lying in the datura flowers at the bottom of the cliff. Ryan's body hugged her tightly, as if he wanted to merge her into his flesh and blood. You are finally reunited. Lisa's voice came from above and the coral scarf swayed in the wind, in the grave I designed. Kate wanted to laugh but found that she had no body. She watched Lisa crush a datura with her high heels, and the juice glowed bloody in the moonlight. Do you know why I want you to die? Lisa squatted down and ran her fingertips across Kate's cold birthmark. Because you and I are both children cursed by the family. Kate suddenly understood. The marriage between the McCall family and the Cartwright family is nothing more than two cancers devouring each other. And she and Lisa are just the most innocent pawns in this game. Go to hell. Lisa whispered, putting the silver ring into Kate's stiff fingers, with your father's sins. Kate's consciousness fell into darkness again. This time she heard the sound of the Datura flower blooming in the abyss, and every petal was engraved with Ryan's lies and Lisa's hatred. When the first rays of dawn shone on the cliff, the search and rescue team found two bodies hugging each other tightly. Their fingers were intertwined and the mandala tattoos on their wrists formed a complete flower. What a tragedy. The young police officer shook his head. I heard they are getting married. The old sheriff squatted down and noticed the silver ring on Kate's ring finger. The wheat ear emblem on the ring face had been corroded and blurred, but at a certain angle the initials of Lisa's name could still be seen. No. The old sheriff said softly, this is relief. The mountain breeze swept over the ruins with the fragrance of mandala, burying the final truth forever in the abyss. Chapter 7. Yellow Spring Road. Faded Folk Song. Kate's fingertips sank into the wet soil, and the roots of the mandragora pulsated in her palm, just like Ryan's pulse when he betrayed her. She opened her eyes and saw herself lying in a sea of purple flowers. The dew on the petals reflected a rainbow, but turned into bloody tears when touched. Welcome to Yellow Spring Road. Lisa's voice came from above her head, and her coral high heels crushed a blooming mandragora. Every flower here is a soul poisoned by love. Kate sat up and found that she was wearing the denim jacket she wore when she first met Ryan. In the pocket of the clothes was half a torn prenuptial agreement, and the ink was stained into a weird pattern by the mandragora juice. A familiar guitar sound came from a distance. The tune was the folk song that Ryan often played. He's waiting for you. Lisa handed over a broken mirror and Ryan's figure was reflected in the mirror. He was standing on the wooden bridge in the middle of the sea of flowers, and the mandragora tattoo on his wrist was intact. Kate dug her nails deep into her palms. She saw Ryan's reflection in the mirror suddenly turned into her father, the man who sneered at her mother's funeral. You already knew who I was. Of course. Lisa's laughter mixed with the sound of flower juice dripping. We are both children cursed by the family. Kate stood up, and the juice of the mandragora seeped into her skin through her trouser legs, bringing a piercing cold. As she walked towards the wooden bridge, she heard the sound of running water under the bridge mixed with the scream of brake failure. Kate. Ryan's voice was full of ecstasy. I finally found you. Kate stared at the complete mandragora tattoo on his wrist, and suddenly remembered what he said before falling off the cliff. We are two halves of the same flower. Is this your lie or a curse? She questioned, her fingertips stroking the KNR initials engraved on the bridge. This was engraved by her on the observation deck before her death. Ryan's pupils suddenly contracted. He took out a silver ring from his back, and the wheat ear emblem on the ring face shone coldly in the sea of flowers. Marry me and we can be forever. Forever trapped in this lie? Kate interrupted him, just like your father was trapped in the Cartwright family curse? Ryan's face suddenly turned pale. His reflection swayed in the water under the bridge, gradually turning into the appearance of Lisa's father, the man who was dragged off the cliff by a car with failed brakes. So you already knew it. Ryan's voice trembled. About our blood relationship. Yes. Kate took out a Swiss Army knife, and the initials of Lisa's name on the blade shone bloody in the sun. So I want to end it all. She stabbed the knife into Ryan's heart, but found that the blade passed through his body and pierced into the bridge pile. The mandrake juice spread along the handle and countless faces suddenly appeared on the bridge pile, all the innocent souls killed by the McCall family. It's useless. Lisa's voice came from behind. Here we are all immortal ghosts. When Kate turned around, she saw Lisa holding Ryan's body. The bloody wrench was stuck in his chest, and the blood dyed the whole sea of flowers red. This is the weapon your father used to kill my father. Lisa whispered, now it's my turn to use it to kill your father. Kate's world suddenly spun. She saw the McCall ranch emerging in the sea of flowers, and Ryan's father stood in front of the barn, holding the same wrench in his hand. Do you think you can get rid of it by killing me? Old McCall sneered, our family curse. His words were interrupted by the Swiss Army knife in Kate's hand. The moment the blade pierced his heart, the entire ranch turned to ashes, revealing the deep concrete buried underneath. There were countless roots of Datura solidified inside. "This is the secret you sealed with concrete," Kate whispered. "Now I want to bring it back to the light of day." The roots of the mandragora suddenly emerged from the ground and wrapped around old McCall's body. He screamed miserably and his skin was corroded by the juice, revealing the rotting skeleton underneath. "You are free," Kate said to Ryan's soul, with Lisa. Ryan's figure gradually became transparent, and his mandragora tattoo floated into the sea of flowers, merging with Lisa's butterfly birthmark to form a complete flower. Kate saw them walking hand in hand to the other side of the bridge, where the Cartwright family's carriage was waiting. "Goodbye," Kate whispered, throwing the silver ring into the sea of flowers. The moment the ring sank into the soil, all the mandragoras bloomed at the same time, and the smiling faces of her and Ryan when they first met appeared on the petals. When the first rays of dawn shone on Huangquan Road, Kate found herself standing on the observation deck on the edge of the cliff. In the morning mist, she saw her younger self rushing into the cafe. The moment Ryan looked up, the sunlight gilded the ends of his hair. "What would you like to drink?" Martha's voice came from behind, and her copper bell earrings flickered in the morning light. When Kate turned around, she saw her young face reflected in the mirror behind the bar. Her handbag contained the design drawings, and Lisa's coral-colored scarf was tucked inside. "Honey ginger tea." Kate smiled. "Add 3 drops of mandala juice." Martha's pupils suddenly contracted. She took out a silver ring from under the bar, and the wheat ear emblem on the ring face glowed coldly. "Are you sure?" "Yes." Kate took the ring. "This time I want to choose the poison myself." She put the ring on her ring finger, and the juice penetrated into the blood vessels along the skin, bringing a familiar burning sensation. The sound of an engine came from a distance, and a red pickup truck stopped at the door of the cafe. When Ryan got out of the car, the mandala tattoo on his right wrist was clearly visible. "The mandragora is blooming," Kate said softly. "This time I want to give the story a new ending." The mountain breeze, carrying the fragrance of flowers, swept across her hair, and she suddenly heard the mandragora singing softly in the wind. It was the folk song that Ryan had never finished singing, and all the truths and lies were hidden in the lyrics.